It is finally time, once again, for a brand new installment of Verses. And now you might be asking,
why do you wait so long between episodes of Verses?
And the answer is quite simple, actually. I'm gonna run out someday. And when I do, I'm pretty sure you're all just gonna unsubscribe. Today, Grizzly River Run in California Adventure goes head-to-head with Cali River Rapids over at the Animal Kingdom in Florida. Who's gonna win? Cali River Rapids is actually the original of the Disney raft rides. It opened in 1999, just shortly after the opening of Animal Kingdom in 1998. It sets place in the Asia part of Animal Kingdom, themed in that Asian forest, kind of the rundown temples in the shadow of Mount Everest out there. Grizzly River Run opened in 2001 along with the opening of Disney California Adventure, which at the time, Grizzly River Run was one of the few good things to do in the park. Times have certainly changed. Grizzly River Run is set in the 1950s. The area is now themed Grizzly Peak. It's supposed to be like a national park back in the 50s, and it's a lovely wooded area. But without further ado, let's get into the duel. For round one, we'll be taking a look at the exterior of the rides, what you'll see on your approach to the queue. Grizzly River Run, as I said, takes place in the Redwood Forest of Grizzly National Park. Obviously, you can see Grizzly Peak. It is one of the icons of California Adventure, that awesome mountain rock shaped like a bear, a grizzly, and I think it's beautiful. That whole area is very beautiful back in the forest. There's lots of waterfalls. You can see the geyser pool. Around the whole ride is footpaths where you can see the ride, the rafts going down the big hill at the end, the different parts of the ride. It's very beautiful out there. I think it's fun just to explore, and there's lots of glimpses at the ride before you actually get to the queue itself. Over in Animal Kingdom in Florida, Cali River Expedition has another beautifully themed area. Asia is actually my favorite section of the Animal Kingdom park. It has these old dilapidated Asian temples. It's right in the foot of Expedition Everest, the towering mountain. It's a very immersive and beautiful area. However, Cali River itself is not very visible from off of the ride. There's a couple spots where you might be able to catch a glimpse of the rafts going by, but there's really not a good way to see the ride from off the ride. And unlike Grizzly River Run with Grizzly Peak, Cali doesn't really have a landmark to look at. And for those reasons, Grizzly River Run is going to be taking this first point for the exterior. Round two will bring us to the queue, and for the sake of all Versus videos, we're assuming that you're going to be waiting in standby, even if that is often just a stupid decision. If the queue's long, just don't even wait, get in the fast pass. Anyways, today you're waiting in standby. Over at Grizzly River Run, you are out in the forest, again, up on some boardwalks. There's some paddles and buckets, and obviously the giant wooden bear at the entrance. But apart from that, there's not a whole lot to look at. It is kind of a long, boring queue. At least you're sheltered from the summer sun, but it is not the most exciting queue. Cali, though, I have so much to say. You're out in that tropical Asian themed forest, going through the forest trails, and then you approach an Asian temple, and the temple is filled with Asian artifacts, statues. There's a fountain. There is so much to look at on a huge scale. Some of these statues are. It's very immersive. There's even live tropical birds in the queue. If you can't tell by my praise, I think Cali takes the point. I'm even remembering more things than that. The ride has a bit of a story. It has that conservation view against illegal deforestation, and in parts of the queue you can hear chainsaws off in the background disrupting the peace of this temple. I spoiled it, but yes, Cali takes the point for the queue. And And on to round 3, the rafts, the ride vehicles themselves. Now, I haven't even addressed ride vehicles in the past few verses. I realized it wasn't as important as I thought it was way early on in my channel, but when we come to the rafts, they're actually quite different. Grizzly River Run only seats 8 people, and there's 2 openings. So it's a nice cozy raft. It's decorated with backpacks and pickaxes and expedition kind of things. But as you're sitting in there, there are 4 seats that are exposed to the open doorways and 4 seats that are snugged in between the 2 other seats. So there's protected seats, and then the seats that are by the doorways, usually you'll get more wet when sitting there. So it's kind of a battle to figure out who's gonna sit where if you wanna stay more dry. Cali River Run has 12 seats. It seats more people. It can have more ride capacity in that regard. And all the seats are 2 by 2 with a big space between them. So every seat is equally likely to get wet. There's no protection. There's no being snuggled in between the people around you. The most notable difference in my mind, however, is a little attention to detail that no one besides Disney would ever really get right. Both of the rafts have handlebars in the middle. Hold on tight, buckle up, fairly comfortable seats. But Cali, in the middle of the whole raft, is this tote. It's a bin with a plastic lid that just opens right up. You could store your hat in there, your wallet, your phone, your gidgets and magadgets and whoozits and wagingits. You could just throw them all right in there and they stay dry. And I think that's a great invention, just another little Disney touch. And for those reasons, Cali is gonna take the point for the raft as well. I gotta say, this is a close one because, again, ride vehicle, as long as you can sit and not die, I think it's great. But Cali has some bonuses, so it is taking another point. And for the most important part, of course, the ride itself. The reason that you're there in the first place, the ride itself. Grizzly River Run is actually a fairly long ride. You get in, you go down through the pine forest. It's kind of comfortable. Everyone's chatting, getting to know each other. I love that aspect, by the way. You just talk with strangers when you're on there and everyone has a blast. You go up the lift and then you get right into some pretty serious rapids. The ride doesn't mess around. You are going, it's wavy, some splashes overboard. You're going down into a dark cave with a grizzly growling. It's really epic. And there's 2 drops. There's the first mini kind of, well, it's not even that small. It's a pretty decent actual drop, and then you keep going through more rapids, and then of course you get to the finale drop, the big bad drop that splashes you down. You'll get soaked, and then you're into the geyser field, which I think is a great detail. It's the end of the ride, so there's not much rapids or anything, but there's the geyser shooting off, and there's one geyser in particular in the middle of the route that 1 in 3 rafts will get soaked by, and you never know if it's gonna happen to you, but I think it's a fun little feature. Additionally, the rafts are designed to spin a lot, especially on that final drop. You'll be the one sitting backwards and saying, oh no, I'm going backwards, and then suddenly you'll spin like 5 times on your way down. It's so unpredictable, and that unpredictableness in a water ride is what makes it so fun. You're laughing the whole time. Again, you're making friends, you're goofing, you're getting soaked. Some people are staying dry. You know, I've been on there with only a splash of water and I've gotten soaked head to toe. So it's really unpredictable, which I think is a blast. I like a random ride adventure with the actual real world threat of getting wet. Cali River, though, is very immersive. You know me, I love the jungle. I love the Adventureland feel. I love the deep creeping forests and ancient temples. Indiana Jones, obviously, I'm obsessed with. I'm sorry, I just am. Cali is very cool though. The ride starts pretty quickly getting to the lift. You go up the lift and the lift is covered in this rainforest mist, and there's these cool statues on the sides towards the top, and then you're plopped down into the jungle river. Very misty. I love the mist, but the rapids are not very rapidy. You kind of are just cruising down the river like you're on the Jungle Cruise, spinning a little bit. Obviously the mist and some squirting water and geysers and things up at the top could get you damp, but then you approach the view of Expedition Everest and it is epic. It is beautiful. Epic is just I don't know how that became my word, but it's epic. But you also go through the logging expedition. Again, there's this message of conservation, and right as you approach this beautiful view, it also gets really ugly. All the trees turn to ashes, and there's this logging truck, and you get the message. It's pretty heavy-handed. But then you go down the drop, and I say the drop. There's only one drop in Cali, and it's not even quite as big as the main drop in Grizzly River Run. And another issue I have with the drop is that usually one person, two people will get soaked. I mean, more soaked than you'll ever get on Grizzly River Run, but everyone else will stay pretty much bone dry. It's a lot less 50-50, a lot less dampness. It's usually one or two people that just get it at that final drop. And then after that, you go through some moderate rapids, nothing as fast as Grizzly River Run. And the ride itself is extremely short, especially because that one and only drop feels to happen pretty early on. You're expecting more. You're expecting the ride to just get started, and then suddenly you're at the unloading zone and an elephant statue squirts you with water, and that's it. So as much as I love the theming and the story to Cali, I gotta give the point to the ride to Grizzly River Run. For some reason, once again, I designed this video to have an even number of points, leading to a tie, which is not acceptable because I do think one ride is better than the other. And so I gotta give more points to Grizzly River Run because the ride is a much more important piece of experience than the queue is. And while I love the theming of Cali, I love the immersion, I wish it was longer and better, but it's just not. Every time I ride it, I'm disappointed. Every single time I've been on that ride, I've gotten to the end and been like, oh, already. I stood in a queue on a long, hot day to get a little damp, and instead I am dry, and actually, the ride is already over. But Grizzly River Run is so intense. It's always so fun. It's always a laughing, random, exciting, thrilling, fast, intense. Other words that I can't come up with on the fly because I'm trying to speak too fast. Grizzly River Run just has it all. And if it had the theming of Cali, it would be the greatest ride in Disney property, maybe. Who knows? That might be a little bold statement. In fact, I'd probably take it back. But still, the point stands that Grizzly is the better ride with the slightly worse theming, but ultimately the ride experience is what matters most to me, maybe not to you, but to me and probably to you if you're a normal human. I'm sorry. Grizzly River Run is taking the win on this versus. That is my opinion though, and as always, you might disagree and I might have more dislikes than I do on a typical video, but I feel like that's a pretty well-grounded case, and I think from what I've seen, that is the common consensus comparing these two rides. So answer my poll right up there. Which ride do you want to see next on Versus? Whether it's Indy versus Dinosaur, Small World, Buzz Lightyear, I don't even know. What am I putting up there? You know, and you're gonna click on it and tell me in the comments below, did I get it right? What are your thoughts comparing Grizzly River Run and Cali River Rapids? Where do they stand in your mind? And as always, thank you so much for watching. I have one request for you. Now, I know I'm a YouTuber, and I say YouTuber things. I'm a meme, I'm a goof, and I'm oftentimes wrong. So yes, sure, like, yes, comment, subscribe. I love it all. I love to interact with you. But what I want right now and what I've wanted since the beginning is to build a community. That's why I always talk down with you in the comments, and that's why my request for you today, as the sun starts to set through my window here, is to just share the video with someone else. Give it to them, say, here's a link, what are your thoughts? And engage a conversation with them, and they'll engage with me, and we'll just all just have a wonderful time. That's all I'm asking for, a wonderful time every day of my life. Is that too much? I don't think so, personally. I think that's a perfectly reasonable request. Thank you so much for watching. I'll shut up now. Have a good one. I'll see you next week with another Disneylander, but until then, I'm gonna turn off the camera.